after the funeral for my wife, my son Alex drove me to a remote road and said, "This is where you get out. The adultery and the economy are mine now." I stood in the deuce, clutching a bag in my hands as he drove away without a glance back. I had no telephone, I had no money, and then I realized that I was not alone. He was free, but he had no idea what I was involved in before his mother did. And before we proceed, could you please share which country you are from and how old you are? We greatly appreciate learning about our audience. Pleasant listening. My name is George Andreevich Pavlov. I was formerly George Kovalev. Then I was Emily's husband, then the father of Alex and Clara. And now I am just a man who was betrayed by his own children. I am not mumming a complaint, I am narrating a story. So that maybe a person listening to this might recognize himself or stop his actions in team. At the time of 68 years old. Ye have hands that can or longer firmly hold a bowl of duck, but they remember how to knead bread, the very same sourdough that my son Alex adored since childhood. They also remember Clara's hair, as fine as a spider's web. She would braid her hair before school while six sat on a stool swinging her legs. I recount all of this not for nostalgia, but simply luxury you understand. Until recently, he was an ordinary father who believed he'd raised good children, hard-working, grateful, and loyal. Emily went to the mill. The pancreas? A cancer-induced cancer. Over 14 months, it took her from May right out of my arms. Slowly, but irrevocably. We decided at first not to tell anyone, neither our children nor our acquaintances. Just between us, not because we were ashamed, but because we did not want to burden them with this as well. Let them live peacefully, we would say. They will have plenty of time to worry, to cry, to mourn. Now is not the time. Alex was in the capital, completely absorbed in his urgent meetings. He had not spent a single holiday with interest in recent years, neither the festival of spring nor the New Year. There were always business trips of some kind. And Clara moved every year, from a yoga center in Riverdale to a healthy detox retreat in Sunstone City. All her ventures, somehow, always ended after Emily transferred money. "It's not worth informing them yet," he said one day, laying in bed when she could no longer get up by herself. Her voice was muffled, heavy, as if combing through cotton wool. "Let them leave a little longer without this shadow." He nodded then, because he loved her, because it was her final wish. What else could he do for her? When the children finally arrived, right at the end, they did not bring warmth with them. They brought cold questions. Emily and I lived in our old house in Willow Creek, the same village where from 20 abandoned hectares we cultivated the Pavlov orchards. Without a loan, without assistance, the two of us, for scratch. An organic farm, an apple orchard, supplies to schools, charitable donations to nursing home. This was not a business, it was our life's work. Alex sat down at our old kitchen table, in the very spot where he ate a soap as a child, and sighed, "Dad, I practice want to be practical. You understand yourself, there were medical expenses. The house is old, the orchard rests solely on you. You won't manage. We need to look toward the future." He spoke it calmly, confidently. That is how people speak in negotiations where everything is calculated. Only he did not look me in the eyes, but he looked at him and saw not my son. In saw a man with whom it had become convenient to think that his father was a burden. Clara arrived later, bringing perfume, suitcases, and tears, sincerely. In saw how she embraced her mother, how she sat by her bedside at night. I thought then, maybe I was mistaken, maybe she really was there for us. But then came the funeral, small and modest, just as she had wanted. A plot on a hill with a view of our orchard. Spring was just beginning. The buds were bursting with sap. I stood between my children, Alex, stoic and cold. Clara was crying into a white handkerchief that I had never seen before. When everyone had left, I sighed, "Tomorrow, let's sort through some of Mother's things. We need to take a look." But Alex was already pouring himself brandy and saying, "Clara and I have spoken. We need to resolve everything quickly. We have work. You have your age, and the orchard has problems." Probes? At Easter again, the busier horse ruined its course. Mother said that a new approach was needed, a modern one. We have already found a buyer. They are offering good money for the land. Motor Street below. He have it all written down, and he placed a paper on the table. Not from a lawyer, not from a notary. Just a plain sheet with the corporate logo of Alex's firm. Emily's signature was too neat, too steady for a person who had been unable to hold a spoon for a month. You gave her this tocsin while a 6 was on pain medicine. And then he understood. They did not just want me home. They had already taken it. He simply did not know about it yet. He did not yell. He did not make a scene. It was enough for me that, sitting at the very same table where Emily and he onsimara dumplings, my children were discussing my life as a matter of paperwork. Lika deal? I softly. The will. Alex pushed the paper toward me. I'm sorry to hear that. Not a notary's form, not the signature of our family lawyer, Dmitri Sergeyevich. Just a copy, printed on a regular sheet with the letterhead from his Capita City firm. Emily signing. He knew it by heart. She put it on every Apple contract, on checks for workers, on notice in the bread box. And here it was too steady, as if a stranger's hand had traced it with a ruler. I'm sorry, she said. Emily could not sign like that. Her hands shook from pine, even when she drank water. She's got a lot of energy, Alex replied. 6 understood everything. I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. She wanted us to continue the business. But in the right way, with money, with investors. Are you still working by hand, the old-fashioned way? Clara sat steadily, scrolling through her phone. There is a buyer, she said finally. A developer? They want to build a countryside complex, a resort, 7 miles. Dad, this is a chance, went a Lavus, to start a new life. In looked at them and could not comprehend. Were these the same children to whom I read fairy tales at night, drove it to after-school clubs, and froze in the gymnasium during school pageants? Are you suggesting that I cannot manage? Arash, wow, just locate yourself. With that phrase, Clara shattered everything. You're really 70. It's cold in the house, your joints ache, the equipment is old. You deserve a rest. In a retirement home, everything is 8-hand. Nurses, activities, clean meals on a schedule. I have everything, friends, activities. This is my home. This is our home, Alex corrected. Legally, it was registered in Mother's name, and she left everything to us. We are not evicting you. We want to provide you with care, but we will take over the orchard. Instead, oops from the table. Not hunched, not like an elderly person, just straight, calmly, like a person whose inner world had finally shattered. It's time to get married. We will talk tomorrow. They nodded, as if in agreement. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. He went upstairs to the bedroom where Emily and he had lived for 40 years, where there were arguments and laughter, and nights with fevers, and silence, and embraces. I lie down on our old spring mattress, closed my eyes, but did not sleep. I heard them whispering in the kitchen, heard Alex calling a person, heard Clara sending voice messages. They did not know that in an old house you can hear every word if you know where to place a pillow. He realized he had only the morning, only one attempt. At down, he got up, washed, dressed, and went down to the kitchen. They were already waiting, dressed, packed. A thermos stood on the table next to a small suitcase. A fine note. "We packed everything," Clara said, as if we were talking about a journey. "Essential items. We're going to show you a place. The Retired Man, Sunny Meadow, a 2-hour drive from here. It's a very good thing. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to have to do it. It's time for a staying home." "Dad." Alex's Wojciech became firmer. "The decision is very good. The deal with the developer is next week. We need to settle everything in advance." "Very reasonable." She placed the cup down slowly, a luxury out of not to spill it. "You have settled nothing. You have lost." "Dad, don't create drama." Alex was already checking his watch. "Just get in the car." He looked at him, not at his face, but deeper. And he realized that, before May was not my son, but a person for whom a father is an asset, the object. He can be removed, relocated, settled. She nodded. "You need to use the bathroom. I'll grab my pills and a bunch of photos." "Of course," Clara nodded, even with a smile. "Take whatever you want. We'll send you the rest later." He went upstairs, but not for the pills, for something they did not know about. In a hiding space behind the mirror were my passport, birth certificate, and Emily's emergency cash. And in the cloister, behind her flannel shirts, was a fireproof box. With it, I descended the stairs slowly, with restraint. When E walked out from the porch, they were already waiting in the car. A large black one, with leather interior. Rented, apparently, for serious business. He got in silently, without questions. They were pleased. We drove for a long team. Fields, villages, a river flashed by the window, and then the car turned onto a dirt road. Gravel crunched under the wheels. Without eating, they left. The car vanished around the bend, and E was left behind. And suddenly, E realized, I am not alone. I am free. He stood in the middle of a field with a travel bag in one hand and a heavy bag over my shoulder. No panic, only a strange clarity. He was not betrayed suddenly. This was not a flash of lightning. No, it was a slowly growing crack that he had refused to notice for years. He looked around. The field was empty. Not a soul, not a car, not a telephone. They thought he was completely helpless, but Emily had insisted years ago, about 10 years, there must be an emergency stock. For the worst-case scenario, a phone, documents, a little cash. And so that no person knew, he walked 5 kilometers along the dirt road without stopping. My legs ached, the bag cut into my shoulder, blisters on my fayette, but he walked, and with each step he was letting go. He remembered how Emily and he, in our 30s, brought saplings here in a wheelbarrow, how we stood waist-deep in grass, cutting tree branches, digging the earth with our hands. Then there was no technology, no money. Only faith that we would have our own place, that something real would grow on this land, not just apples. And he understood, I am walking. No, I am an Islander.